The time's come to play here in my garden of
Hello, I'm Runya, aka Media Adaptation, and welcome back to Moderation while me is Frey Game. And it's Friday, so that means the time once again to talk about the supposedly lost 80s style anime, Go for a Punch, aka Saki Sanobashi. Oh, and before we begin, I'd like to give a huge thanks to all of you who've enjoyed our work on this series. I'm glad to see so many people still interested in this topic. And according to the YouTube analytics, about 85% of the people who watch these aren't actually subbed to our channel, so we would like to suggest hitting that button if you enjoy our content. It'll really help us grow our channel. But enough about that, let's get on to it. Over on our Discord server, one of our members went through the Google Trends data and found some hits for Go for a Punch in 2011, 4 years before the 4chan post. But more than that, when looking into the YouTube trends, it goes all the way back to 2008, and it's had far more activity. During some of the testimony about the people who actually saw this, some people have claimed to see it at a LAN party which had no subtitles. So one of our members proposed to do a cross-reference with some of the universities in the area, which still narrows it down to about 24 of them. So it seems like an uphill battle, which again is very common for this topic. So best of luck to them. And again, if you'd like to join our server, then a link to it will be down in the description below. Again, trolls will not be tolerated, and please be respectful to the other members. And now it's time to look over at our Reddit, and someone posted a cutscene to a PS1 video game called Yoyami Dora Takinte, or the much easier name Dust Expedition, which is similar in style to the popular Twilight Syndrome, and deals with a bunch of different urban legends. The gameplay is a bit stiff, but what else could you say for a game that was made in 1999? Also, we got a reply from the Reddit user Hamarochi99, who has been doing some research into Saki, and has compiled a list of all the ones that they've gone over, which has about 42 entries, and a good chunk of which we've covered on our show, and a handful that we should probably also cross-reference. And I know I've said this in the past couple videos, but we really need to take some time out and write down all the ones that we've covered. Anyway, I'll leave a link to their page down in the description below if you'd like to go over it for yourself. I was also contacted by another user who also did research into this topic and wanted to share their findings. But sadly, due to scheduling issues, we really couldn't get around to it this week. One more thing of note that was posted there is someone put the top 5 best animes that we found because of Saki. And it has some of your classics: Gaku no Yori, The Curse of Kazu Omizu, High School Mysteries, Midori, and Corpse Party. And the funny thing is that the top 3 picks were all ones that we reviewed about a year ago, before Saki became such a big deal. Heck, it was one of the primary reasons that we joined the search to begin with, since we fully reviewed them before. It's funny how a couple of viewer requests shaped the channel into what it became today. And I would also have to say Laughing Target should have been on their list as well. I bring this up because last week someone commented wanting to know what was my favorite anime that we thought was Sakai. And I'd probably have to go back through some of our older ones to think on which of them was my favorite. But I have to say, one of the weirdest animes that I came across while doing research for this has to be World War Blue. The manga came out in 2007, and got an anime in 2012. And it's a medieval depiction of the Sega Nintendo console wars. The main character is a human Sonic the Hedgehog, and he fights against Link and Mario. And even though there are copyright laws, they had to change some of the names around, but they were very far from subtle about it.
Don't you trash heaps know? It's dangerous to go alone, so take this!
I didn't think I ever asked to see an evil Emperor Mario ride Yoshi off a cliff to destroy an ironclad warship, but I'm kinda thankful that I have. Sadly, this anime only lasted for 3 episodes, so the story never concluded. But the manga did get 10 volumes, and it's probably something that we really need to cover sometime down the line. I can't wait to see what they did to Princess Peach. Another anime that was suggested was The Legend of Haley from 1985. And I guess it's because it got covered a few weeks ago by the YouTube channel Kenny Lattendale, which did a fantastic job, and I'd highly recommend their video because they go into detail about all the behind the scenes to this anime. And the strange thing is that the company that made it also did a lot of other great anime, but for some reason they kind of buried all knowledge about this one in the records. I mean, it's not terrible, so it's not out of shame or anything. It just proves that anime, even if made by a high-end company, could get buried and basically forgotten. But anyway, on to the anime itself. And like many from the time, it's heavily influenced by movies from the 1980s. And this one would be Terminator. We have a silent killing machine that tracks down a target. They're both technically aliens that arrived from Halley's Comet. But the coat that our killer wears is very reminiscent of Mr. X from Resident Evil 2. So, could this have been what inspired him? Later on, they try to kill him in a way very reminiscent to the ending of Jaws. But it barely slows him down. Eventually, they find out that his weakness is some sort of microwave frequency. So they try to lure into a trap, but our man gets pinned down, and a girl sacrifices herself to stop him. And then the two beings return to the comet after saying their goodbyes. And due to the path of Halley's, the next time that it comes by Earth, they'll both long since be dead. So kind of a bittersweet ending. And our next one on the list is Cybernetics Guardian from 1989. Remember a while back we looked at one called Genocyber? This one is not only done by the same person, but it more or less was the original draft of the story. And kind of like the last one, this one heavily drew inspiration from other movies, and this time it's RoboCop. But only really for the first part of it. As then we get a weird cult, which again came later than the other anime, which then turns them into a weird biotech superweapon, which still has a lot of the same over-the-top kills as in our other movie. And then our main bad guy puts his brain into their Ed 209 analog, which in this universe is called Genocyber. But sadly, it lacks the raw power of its much later model. Another odd prototype anime is Demon Lord Dante by Go Nagi, and this is sort of the pilot which later became Devilman. Our main character is a weird hybrid of our two main characters from that show. The manga came out in 1971, but the anime didn't come out until 2002. The manga only got 2 volumes, so the anime had to make up an ending. This one also has an evil cult, but the manga got into a lot of controversy about the twist at the end, which was that the people who win are not always good people. He cited other historical events like the Crusades or the Spanish Inquisition. People who claim to be on the side of God who still do horrible acts of cruelty. It's a very interesting concept, but I wish he got more time to flesh it out. I think they did get a relaunch of the series later on, so I hope it worked out for him. And with that out of the way, it's time for us to once again go over our list of adult anime of the time. And we've had some people ask why it's taken us so long to get through this year. Well, our first one, which was 1984, only had 17 projects made. And now, for 1985, there are 41. So this year was kind of a big thing for the, boners, I guess. Anyway, our first one for today is called Maho no Rouge Lipstick, or Magical Rouge Lipstick. And everything is drawn in this weird, super chibi art style, which makes it really hard to properly judge age. The choice in clothes screams teenager, and some of the other characters at the same height are fully developed. So I'm just going to chalk this up to a weird Lucky Star type art style. Anyway, our main character spies on someone else blowing her senpai, so she goes off to cry, and finds, Oolong from Dragon Ball, who sells her the titular lipstick, which turns out to be the familiar for a magical girl. So she transforms, again, into the same height, but this time she has much bigger, personality. And then she goes to a disco, and then they have a dance-off for her senpai. Because that's always what you do when you first get magical powers, shamelessly squander them for your own personal gain. And then they decide to ditch her and go ride on her bike, again another point in the teenage category, but then Homewrecker follows them in a pink Jeep, and then pulls out a rocket launcher. What? But then misses and it kills a random truck driver. Our hero, ladies and gentlemen. Oh yeah, and then she drives off the side of the road into a diner. But then she comes back in a pink tank. where the hell is a high schooler getting all these things from? So they have to flee on foot after she pegs the bike. And then they again find Oolong, who then drops something else, which turns out to be a battle robot, which one-shots the tank. But she's still not done, as she comes back in a jet, which looks more like a Pride version of Starscream, which keeps her at bay for a while, until they double back and tear the thing apart. And they finally get to bang. But then the timer runs out on her power, and she goes back to normal. Okay, what the heck did I just watch? I'm not complaining, it's just, what the heck? Really weird and fast pace. And kind of awesome. Anyway, on to our next one, called Milky Gal Cat Aya. And this one really isn't much to it, as it heavily reuses the exact same footage over and over again. Heck, they have 3 different characters, and I swear they just swapped the hair out for all the models. There really is nothing to this one. And our last one of these for today is a very hard to pronounce title, so I'm just going to call it by its translated one, Nako's Tropical Angel. Our main character goes with her boyfriend to a tropical island, but oh no, there's something on the wing of the plane. Someone call William Shatner. 2 of them miss the raft, so she goes out to save them, but the 3 wash up on an island far away from the other group. And then they bang like rabbits, for like 2 or 3 days, non-stop. And then they're rescued. And again, that's basically it. I'm not saying that more adult films need giant robots, but I wouldn't be opposed to the idea either. So I guess it's time to end our film on some horror manga. And our first one on the list is Mimi no Kaden, or Mimi's Ghost Stories, done by Junji Ito, which is a collection of short stories. And the one we're going to be talking about today is The Woman Next Door. This one's kind of a weird suspense one that really doesn't translate well when summarized, but we'll give it a try anyway. Our main character is a college student trying to study for her exams, but then complains to their upstairs neighbor about the noise. He makes the argument that his neighbor doesn't complain much, and then the next time we see him, he's freaking out outside, as while he knows very little about his neighbor, he never actually hears anything from her, never talking or eating or anything that a normal human would do, especially with the incredibly thin walls of the apartment. And the more he thinks about her, the more on edge he becomes. And then later, she hears a scream out in the night, and then he moves the next day, and a girl then takes his spot. One day she bumps into her carrying groceries, and when she picks it back up, she finds that her arm is a single sheet of metal. At first thinking it was just some sort of prosthetic, but she could still operate her hand with far more precision than that thing would allow. So one night, curiosity got the better of her, and she looks through a peephole, and sees her rearranging her limbs in bizarre fashion. She gasps as the woman hears her, and then the metal claws its way through the peephole, twisting at angles as if it could see her. Then she leaves the apartment. She goes out to look, and sees her standing outside the second floor window, and then creeps into her room. After that, she really can't recall, as the woman went back to normal as though nothing had changed, and her girl decides to move shortly after. If you guys like these, we'll probably go through more of these in our next video. And our next one is called Diary of the Loving Care of High School Boys. And wow, is this one messed up. It's a very, very short story about your high school crush expressing their love to you by torturing you repeatedly. Why? God only knows. The story only follows about 3 or 4 guys who are unlucky enough to have this fate befall them. There's not much else to say about this, just it came out in 2000, and what the actual heck. And the last one for this week is called The Path I Walk, which was done by the same person who did our story from last week about the doll that looks exactly like you. And apparently all these stories are interconnected. And we started off with a girl looking over a photo album, before sighing and standing at the ledge of a building, ready to jump, as a girl grabs her from behind with a strangely shaped mouth. She says that she's always stuck here. Wouldn't she like to see a little further beyond? She asked her, "Who is she?" And she only replies that you're still asking that question, and then later says the only thing that'll change is that your parents will cry again. She ignores her and jumps anyway. And then when she wakes up, she's in the hospital as a child, as the girl looks onward. We then see her slowly grow up and learn that she was a friend of our girl from last time. And everything repeats itself, the good and the bad. So again, she finds herself on the top of the building, and again, the girl tries to stop her. She again turns to her, but doesn't remember her. The same lines are said, but now we understand the weight behind them. And this time it ends with her saying that she'll tell her the next time they meet. So next time, she stays at the hospital and tries to explain it to her, that she's just replaying the same events over and over again, which will always lead to the same result. Nothing will change unless you try and make it change. But after a while, she sighs and says that she'll meet her again back on the roof. The child sits there, not fully understanding what she means, only resolving herself that next time it will be better. This time she won't mess up. But again, it leads back to the same place. And again, she is still there, hoping to help her change. I'm really enjoying these little set of manga, so we'll have to track down some of the others for next time. And that about does it for this video. If you have any other ideas like seeing made into a video, then please post it down in the comments below, and we'll add it to our next viewer request week.
It's now time for the part of the show where we ask you to help us appease the YouTube algorithm by dropping a like, share, or comment. It helps out much more than you'd think.
And if you haven't subscribed yet, then it's very much appreciated. And if you'd like to support this channel, then please visit our Patreon. Link will be down in the description below. Even if you can't give a lot, every little bit helps. Oh, we also started up a Let's Play channel. So if you want to see us try out some horror games, then feel free to stop on by. Link will be in the card as well as in the description. And I guess I'll see you in the next one. Anyway, I'm Runya.
And I'm Ada.
Remind you to take life in moderation.
Weep not, poor children, for life is this way, murdering beauty and passion. Hush now, dear children, it must be this way, to weary of life and deceptions. Rest now, my children.